Welcome, welcome everyone to day one of Learn to Tap. I am so excited that you're here. We're just going to take a moment to get all the technical things set up. I'm going to have to mute myself, so you're going to hear me twice for 1 second. And amazing, we are live. Welcome to day one of Learn to Tap. If you are here, I want you to celebrate yourself because you are about to be blown away the next 4 days. You're going to be introduced, if you aren't already familiar with, this technique called EFT tapping that will absolutely transform your life within just a few short days. Today is all about the science of tapping. We're going to be talking about and learning all about the history of EFT and a little bit of the basics of how to tap. We're going to get more into that tomorrow. So you're going to want to make sure that you are alive tomorrow for that. And if you are here, say hello. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you were referred here by a friend, give them a shout out in the comments too, because once you're a part of this community, you are a friend to me. One of the things with tapping is we develop really deep and meaningful relationships. We have the ability to really connect on a different level than most. And so over the next few days, you're probably going to experience some feelings. You're going to feel some excitement. You're going to probably have some release and some tears. My core philosophy is that we release in order to receive, and that tapping is an experience. So we're really going to get into that tomorrow. We're going to get into the actual tapping, but today it's all about the education, the history, and the frequently asked questions that we hear in EFT. Hello, Robin. Hello, Kyla. Hi, Tamber. Brenda from Vancouver. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. So I'm going to share my screen. I do have a friend coming live with me halfway through. This should be about an hour tops, and it is recorded. So you can watch the replay afterwards. We'll send them out to your email every day as long as you're opted in. And if you're not opted in, then we'll share the link in this live so you can sign up and make sure you're getting all the details. One other thing, if you are here live, we are going to draw a winner at the end of each day. So if you're engaged, if you are active and a part of this group, you will be entered to win one of my tapping bundles. Today is the Abundance Bundle. It's one of my most popular tapping bundles, valued at $128, $29, and you get that for free. And I'm going to give one away each day. So make sure you're here if you can on the live, and let's dive in. All right, I'm going to open my phone so I can see your comments. I can see them on this screen, but I want to make sure I'm not missing any comments. All right, so let's dive in. I'm going to go ahead and share screen now, so you'll be able to see a PDF, which you will also get access to in your email afterwards. So don't worry if you're like trying to write notes or anything, you're going to get all of this. And today you're going to get a tapping guide as well, which it includes a tapping script that's easy to follow. You're getting a bunch of goodies by being here. So yay for that. All right. Welcome to day one of Learn to Tap. This is the history and science of tapping. And as I mentioned, this bit of housekeeping, you're going to get a replay every day. You're going to get a free download today. That's an intro to tapping guide. So it has a tapping script in there. It has all the information I'm sharing today. We're giving away prizes every day. And then on day three is honestly the best day in my opinion, because we get into tapping and manifestation. And I'm going to give you a big announcement on that day. So full transparency, we are on a mission to get tapping into the hands, hearts, and homes of people worldwide. And there will be an invitation on that day to teach you how to do that and come into our community and work with us. And if you enjoy this training, I would love it if you would share it. So if you experience an aha moment, or someone pops into your mind over the next few days, it's like, they could really use this, or their child could really use this. We would love it if you would invite them. So I'll share a post every day with a summary of day one. If you share that and tag me, and we'll teach you how to do that in that post, you'll also be entered to win a tapping bundle as well. So there's lots of ways to win the next few days. All right, so today I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to share a little bit about who I am and my story. We're going to go into the history of tapping. It's actually a really cool story how it was first discovered. We're going to go through some frequently asked questions like, is there anything that you shouldn't be tapping on? Is there any negative side effects? We're going to go through all that. I'm going to teach you the tapping points. And then we're going to invite in Jackie Acree. She is a certified practitioner and a dear friend of mine. She's a phenomenal tapping practitioner, and she's going to go through the science with us. So it won't be long. It's going to go fast, but we're going to dive in with your intention. So before we start, I would love it if you are in a safe place to do so, to just give yourself a moment to close your eyes and breathe. Just start by connecting to your breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth at a pace that feels comfortable for you. You can even roll your shoulders up and back, just dropping your shoulders, letting your body relax into this moment as you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just for right now, I want you to give yourself permission to set aside whatever you were doing before this, whatever you'll go to after this, and to create a space just for you. Over the next few days, this is a space for you to be poured into, for you to receive. Over the next 4 days, you'll have the opportunity to share what's been going on with you, what's been standing in your way. We're going to move through any limitations, resistance, or blocks that you have. And we're going to tap you into a place of possibility. We're going to tap you into a life beyond your wildest dreams. And we're going to tap into your heart and the power that is within you. And I always say that tapping finds you when you're ready for it. You are here today for a reason. And as you take this moment to connect with yourself, I want you to go ahead and set an intention. Just think about what attracted you to this training. What made you say yes to being here? And then think about how you're hoping EFT can support you. What area of your life could you use tapping in? And then think about at the end of the 4 days together, how would you like to feel? What would you like to take away with you? So my intention for you is that you are absolutely blown away. You are mind blown by the effectiveness, by the efficiency of how quick this tapping works. And that you are emotionally elevated through being in this training, being in this energy, being in this experience. That you are opened up to a new level of possibility. A new level of healing is becoming available to you. And you are finding your power, your voice, in a way that you just haven't before. My intention is that this is the beginning of a lifelong friendship and journey through tapping with me. And that this is landing into the right hands, into the right homes, into the right hearts of people today. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And to start off, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Your time means a lot to me. And I really believe in efficiency. So I'm going to make this as informative, as engaging, and I'm going to give you an experience. So it's not just going to be information. You're going to have an experience over these next few days. So I'd love it if you wanted to share your intention in the chat. I would love to hear it. You can share, how you want to feel at the end. You can share why you were attracted to this training. Or, at the end of the 4 days, I want to feel lit up again. I want to feel powerful. I want to feel like my dreams are possible. I want to feel the pain that's in my back diminish. I want to feel that I have the tool to help my child. Whatever it is, please share, because this is going to help guide us over the next few days. I'm gonna actually add some extra resources that I don't normally do in this training for you guys. One of them being some info on tapping for kids, because this conversation is coming up a lot. And I would love to make this group specifically a tapping script. And so if there's something you would really love to tap on, feel free to share it. And I will tune in and see which topic is needed the most and provide you with those scripts. They're really, really powerful and easy to follow. Emotionally elevated, Sarah says, yes, peaceful within my mind and focusing more clearly on my path. These are great intentions. Yeah, keep them coming. I want to find a way to lower my blood pressure naturally. Robin, you're in the right place, because tapping does naturally lower blood pressure. Actually, that's one of the benefits. There's so many things you're going to find out about tapping today that maybe you didn't know. So I'm excited. I want to break free from old stories and self-limiting beliefs. We can do that. And we can do it quickly with tapping. You're going to hear that today. Keep these intentions coming. This isn't just an intention for me. This is an intention for you, for your life, for your relationship with the universe, God, source, whatever you believe in. You're saying, hey, I am planting a seed today. I intend to create a shift, to create an experience in my life. All right. A little bit about me. So if you have heard me share before, you've probably heard me say, tapping found me at my worst and brought me to my best. I always say tapping finds you when you're ready for it. And when it found me in 2011, I was like the on your knees moment, like, somebody help me, I don't feel well. So in 2011, I was 19 years old and I had just had my daughter. And 9 days before she was born, one of our best friends was tragically murdered. And so my nervous system was in a complete state of fight, flight, freeze, and grief, all while bringing a new life into the world. And then shortly after that, 3 months later, another friend tragically passed away in a car accident. My partner's uncle died, my uncle died. And then we had another classmate pass away that fall due to an overdose. So there was a lot of trauma in a very short amount of time that hit my life. And I just become a new mom, and my body freaked out. I was having all sorts of symptoms that the doctors didn't really have answers for. They just said, you're a tired new mom, like you'll get through it. But I really didn't feel like myself. And I was living in a state of fear of what would happen next. And I had a lot of uncertainty, fear of the unknown. And that's when tapping found me. And it finds you when you're ready for it, as I say. I was staying at my mom's at the time, and a woman came to visit she came to North America to train in this thing called EFT. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, also known as tapping. And my mom was like, I don't know what that is, but will you try it on my daughter, because she's going through a lot right now. And I wasn't functioning properly. Like I was really dizzy all the time. I lost a ton of weight. I couldn't drive. Like I was just not functioning well. And I had my first tapping session. And in that session, I realized how much emotion was stuck in my body and how that was impacting my physical well-being. And I cried and I released. I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off. And I learned about my nervous system. I didn't know what being in a fight or flight state really meant. And I didn't know that I had the power to shift that frequency, that feeling, that state by tapping. And so I went on to become a certified practitioner. I had a little baby, and over the next 2 years, I trained in EFT, took every possible training I could. And then in 2014, my work got put to the test again when my father got really sick. And I had just finished my final tapping training, and I'm going to share that story in a moment. And that was a really pivotal moment for me, because I realized, well, I know tapping's changed my life, but then I saw it change the life of someone that I love dearly. And that's when I felt like, okay, this is bigger than me. Like I am meant to share this with the world. And I felt like tapping picked me. I didn't pick it. It just started to spread. So in 2016, I took my business online and I started sharing tapping with others. And I'll tell you, my first tapping video, if you go back on my Facebook page, I tapped on anxiety. And I was pretty much having an anxiety attack on my first Facebook Live, but I stayed consistent, and I didn't know who it was helping. At first I thought, is anyone getting anything out of this? But then week after week, I would get message after message, people saying, that changed my life. Like, how did you know how I was feeling? How did you know what to say? Like that saved me in a really desperate moment. So in 2019, I decided, to the big thanks to my friend Megan Hale, to teach people how to tap. And I opened my tapping school certification for the first time. And I had my first 6-figure year as a newly single mom, and tapping has just continued to change my life. So that's a little bit about my story. And as I mentioned, the breakthrough moment for me was after, this is a picture of my dad and I. Usually makes me pretty emotional, but this was right after my tapping training had completed, and I went to visit my dad in the hospital. And at the time, he was suffering from kidney failure due to diabetes, and he was in a lot of pain. He also had shingles at the time, and they couldn't get him out of bed. And so I was like, well, I'm pretty sure my dad's going to think this is weird, but what do we have to lose? So I started tapping on him, for him. And I used it specifically for physical pain. And within a few minutes, I did a round. He opened his eyes and he looked at me, and I was like, did I do something wrong? Are you okay? And he was like, whatever you did, I think it's working. Like, keep going. So I kept going, and he didn't give me any words. I was just guessing, like, all this pain and intuitively guessing how he must have felt. And then within 30 minutes, he sat up out of bed for the first time in days. And I remember, like, the nurses and the people around were like, wow, this is a huge improvement. He was able to get up, like, he walked, went to the bathroom, came back, and he said, I think I'm ready to have some food. I'm ready to eat. And he's like, Jack, I don't know what you did, but like, that was really powerful and it really helped me. So the philosophy behind this is, a lot of my dad's pain was also emotional pain. He wasn't just in physical pain, he was in emotional pain. And giving him that experience lit something in me that I was like, okay, it's time to get this out to the world. And I've had to work through a lot of fears of visibility, a lot of fears of what people would think. Tapping was not cool when I started. Nobody knew about it. Like, I never thought I'd be tapping on my face and talking about people's feelings. But this was my moment, and you might have that moment too. You might have a moment where, wow, this helped me, but then you see it help someone else and you're like, okay. So now we're going to shift gears into the history of tapping. I just wanted to share a little bit about me so you know where I come from and what I'm about. The history of tapping was created in the late 1970s by a psychologist named Roger Callahan. This is a pretty cool story. He had a client named Mary who had an extreme phobia of water. He had worked with her for several years without much relief. So he one day decided, okay, we're going to sit by the pool and I'm going to combine my knowledge of Eastern acupuncture with Western psychology. And we're going to tap on acupuncture points while she expressed her fear of water and her phobia of water. So he did this for a few minutes. I think it was like a 2-hour session actually in the end. But to his astonishment, by the end of the 2-hour session, Mary's fear of water was gone and she was able to submerge herself in the pool. And prior to this woman had a hard time even showering or like being near water at all. And this was remarkable. This is where everything changed. So in the early 80s, a man named Gary Craig, he was a friend of Roger Callahan. He developed this technique to the next level. He called it EFT, emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping as we know it today. And his mission was to give it freely to the world. He was like, I want this to be as accessible as Advil. Like, instead of someone reaching for a medication, reach for tapping to decrease inflammation in their body. Try it on absolutely everything. And his mission was to give it away for free, like give it to the world. So you can learn more about him if you Google him. He's a remarkable man, and you'll still see people all over the world now are sharing this technique because of him. So some of the questions that we often get is the basics, like how does it work? Do you tap on me? Do I tap on myself? What are we doing here? So my friend Laura Parkinson often says tapping is like a game of Simon Says. I tap on an acupuncture point, my face or body, and then you tap and copy me. So I'm not touching you, you're just copying me. And while we're tapping, we're repeating specific statements on the face and body points as we tap. So that's the basics of it. We're going to get into actually how to do that later. But no one ever touches you. You're tapping for yourself. You can also teach, your little ones to tap. And if you are working with kids, if they aren't able to, you can tap on behalf of them as well. Are there any negative side effects to tapping? No, there's none. It is safe and efficient way to process your emotions. And that's one of the things I always say about tapping, it's safe and empowering. So it's not going to take you where you don't want to go. You don't have to know every detail about it. You don't have to believe in it to work. You can simply just learn the tapping points, and just going through each point is going to disrupt any fight flight response in the body. And you might notice that you either take a deep breath, or that you yawn, or that you cry. It's just getting the blood. It's like, I often explain it like a highway system. So we have energy meridians that run from the top of our head down to the tips of our fingers to the bottom of our feet, and it's bringing blood flow to the body. So if there's any energy blockages there, if there's any blockage in that highway due to stress or a trauma or whatever, the tapping will clear that out and bring blood flow. And that's where you'll notice the either feeling really tired all of a sudden, or the yawns, or the watery eyes. The body's being signaled, okay, it's safe to relax now. Next question, is there a limit to how much I should tap in one day? So because tapping is safe, there's no limit to how much you can tap in one day. It does lower blood pressure, so you want to make sure you're staying hydrated throughout the sessions, and have some protein after your session to support any new neural pathways that are being created in the brain. That being said, if you're working on a complex like memory or trauma, I would recommend like slow and steady. Like one tapping session a day is probably going to be enough, and you're going to notice days after that your body's still shifting, and you're receiving like aha moments and healing with days to come. So that's the only caveat. If you are working with any kind of trauma, I would say slow and steady is best. You don't want to overdo it, because you might just like exhaust yourself, because it does make you quite relaxed and tired. Last question, what will I experience when I tap? This is really important because everyone has a different experience. One person might go from a 10 of anxiety down to a 2 in one round, and you're sitting there and you're like, well, mine only went from a 10 to an 8. Everyone has a different experience. There's no right or wrong answer. If someone's number went down significantly and yours stayed the same, that is totally fine. The secret to success in tapping is getting really specific with your wording. So over the next few days while we're tapping together, I'm going to be doing global tapping, and it might really resonate with some, and it might like not quite hit the mark for others. This is why learning how to tap on your own is going to be really important, so you can experience that personal wording and that shift that comes with it. As I mentioned, yawning, burping, tears, sleepiness, increase in emotion, or decrease in stress, anxiety are all very common things to experience while you tap. I always say it's never rude to yawn when you're tapping with me. It's a good sign. It's like, okay, it's working. All right, I'm going to check in some of these messages here. Yes, these intentions. So wanting to be able to get rid of my anxiety and daily headaches. Tapping is very well known for helping with migraine headaches as well. So I'm glad you brought that up. I want to feel peaceful within my mind and learning to let go, learning to let my kids battle their battles with me and friends, and positively guiding them without overstepping boundaries. These are great intentions. Thank you for sharing them. Peace of mind and feeling calm. Awesome. So at this point, if there's any other questions that you have in this moment, feel free to share them in the chat. I can come back to them later, but remember, you're going to learn a lot over these next few days. So don't worry if you don't know everything yet. We're going to take it in bite-sized chunks. This part I would love to hear from you on. Things to try tapping on. There's honestly, I could write pages. There's pages of things that you could try tapping on. Try it on everything, as Gary Craig said, but common ones are physical pain, releasing anxiety. It's a big one. PTSD, things like PTSD. There's a great documentary by The Tapping Solution, and they did a study on veterans and survivors from the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. And it's phenomenal how fast tapping worked and the long-term effects. So one of them in particular, there's a veteran who had his trigger was the sound of a helicopter. And by the end of the documentary, he is able to not only be around a helicopter, but he gets on it and flies off in it. It's really cool. So highly recommend checking that out. Other things that we tap on is things like self-esteem and confidence. Weight loss is a big topic in the tapping community. Cravings, if you have sugar cravings, if you're trying to quit alcohol. There's a great story by one of our practitioners. She works with sobriety and she had a glass of wine and she put it in front of her. And she said at the beginning, I like 10 out of 10 wanted to have the wine. She's like, every part of me wanted it. And within a few rounds of tapping, then that desire went down. I think it went from like a 10 down to an 8. And she's like, I still want it, but not as much. Another round of tapping, that went down to around a 6. And she's like, yeah, I don't need the wine. Like I don't want it as much as I wanted it before. And by the end, she was like, it smells like I don't even want it near me. I don't want to drink it. Get it away from me. So it's pretty cool to use it on things like that. I've done it for coffee cravings. I quit coffee in 2016 because it just didn't have good effects on my body. But when I tapped on coffee in my training, it was actually really linked to my mom, because when I was younger, the only time I would really get like sit down moments with my mom is when we would drink a coffee. So the craving was more than just the addiction to coffee. It was the emotional attachment for me to my mom. So there's lots of cool stuff in that topic. Fears and phobias, fear of flying, fear of public speaking. We have some practitioners, they're little ones that have a fear of like the fire alarms at school, all sorts of things like that. Wealth and abundance, which is something we talk about a lot in my community. We tap on this weekly. Sleep insomnia, test anxiety. If you're training for an exam or your kids are, tapping on tests is a big one. Releasing big emotions, relationships, sports performance, burnout recovery, worthiness, and tapping with your kids are just a few. I would love for you to share what would you like to try tapping on. Share it in the comments so that I can create some extra resources for you. Ashley says, I always yawn so much and I love the feeling of release while tapping. Yes. Letting go of bad habits. Yes. Okay. Would love to tap on getting better sleep when I have insomnia. Awesome. And Vanessa says it's opened me up to new possibilities and helped my confidence. Yeah, I use a lot of confidence tapping in my community as well. So thank you for sharing. All right, the tapping points. So this is an important piece of it, learning the points. The points that I use, I add a couple of points that other people don't. So if you've tapped with other people and mine looks a little different, it's just because I use a couple other points and I do it in a bit different way. But the first point we're going to start with is actually, I know it's number 11 here, but we're going to start with the side of the hand. So if you're in a safe place to do so and comfortable, I invite you to just try it with me. Tapping on the side of the hand, this is called the karate chop point. It doesn't matter which hand you do it on. Some people even go like this. So we stay here for what's called 3 rounds. And I'll teach you more on that tomorrow. The next point is right at the top of the head. Okay, right at the crown of the head. The point after that is right where your eyebrows begin. The next point is side of the eye, right where the eyebrows end. You can see where I'm tapping on both sides. Point number 4 is underneath the eyes. Point number 5 is underneath the nose. Point number 6 is right between where the chin and the mouth is, right there. Point number 7 is the collarbone point. So you can see my collarbones. We tap just underneath the collarbones. See, it already makes me take a deep breath. Point number 8 is underneath the arm. So for a woman, it's right where your bra strap would end. Right at the bottom there. Then underneath the chest. Same thing, like right under where the bra is. Spleen and liver points. And then the last point, it's a grief meridian. It's tapping your wrists together. See, I'm tapping my wrists together like that. All right. You just learned the tapping points. I'm going to keep rolling because of time's sake, but that's the basic points. You don't have to memorize them. As we progress, I'm going to walk you through them. And every single time I'll tell you where to tap, and we're going to go slow, okay? All right. The other piece to know is that there's a sequence to tapping. I get this all the time. People are like, how did you know what to say? It's like you're reading my mind. I'm not reading your mind. I am literally writing down your words, repeating you back to them in a specific sequence that really helps your body respond. So we use a little bit of psychological reversal. There's a bunch of different things going on, but the only thing that you need to know is that we always start on the side of the hand when we tap. Our starting point is always the side of the hand. And we always start with the statement, even though, and then you fill in how you feel. Even though I feel tired today, even though I feel stressed right now. And then we always end with, I love and accept myself anyway. Okay. So we use that statement only on the side of the hand. And we do that 3 times. Even though I feel tired today, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I feel stressed right now, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I want to feel energized, I'm tired right now, and I love and accept myself anyway, okay? When we tap through the face and body points, we go through 3 stages. There's a venting stage where we're going to just say, like, I'm so tired today. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. I am so tired. All I want to do is sleep. That'd be the venting stage. Then we do a stage of letting go. You know, even though I'm tired, I'm ready to let this exhaustion go and feel rested instead. So it's the letting go stage. Then the 3rd stage is what everyone loves. Sorry, I spelled affirmations wrong there, but the affirmation stage is where you will feel energized, you will feel excited. This is actually when we do tapping with affirmations, it primes your subconscious brain to receive an affirmation. Because if you just say an affirmation like, I am energized, and you're like, no, I'm exhausted. That's just creating resistance in your body, resistance in your subconscious mind. So tapping with affirmations will change your life. We're going to learn more about that in the coming days, but that's just the basic sequence I wanted you to know. All right, take a deep breath. You're doing great. I know I've delivered all kinds of information to you, but now I'm going to introduce you to a very important person, my dear friend and fellow practitioner, Jackie Acree. So I'm going to stop share for a moment, invite her into the room, and she's going to come on and share with us some of the fun science of tapping. And this is where things get really cool. Welcome, Jackie.
Hi, sorry, I had to unmute. Hi, I'm so excited. I love taking this stuff in all over again. I'm like, yes. Yeah.
Every time I know, every time I teach tapping, I learn something new, and it just integrates a little bit more. Yeah. So I do have some slides here, but I would love for you to just take a moment to share a little bit about who you are or what brought you to tapping, and then we can dive into what you're going to teach us today.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I'm so excited to be here with everyone. So thank you for having me as your guest, the 2 Jackies here again. I live in Lake Country. I saw Susan is here from Lake Country. I saw her in the Facebook group. I think she's watching live unless she had to go. So hi, Susan. We're probably neighbors. I found tapping years and years ago. So I have a BA in counseling, and I'm psychology obsessed, always looking for what actually works. I'm also inadvertently the go-to gal for the science behind tapping. I am not a researcher, but I am a super nerd. And so I'm always looking for things that are evidence-based and that help us get results faster rather than like just sit there and ruminate over the same old stories. I mean, I'm sure we can all relate. How many times have we felt like we're a broken record and we're like, why doesn't this thing change? It feels like you're kind of up against an invisible wall. So I'm very obsessed with personal transformation and all things psychology. However, when I found tapping, it sounded very woo. Like you said, like tapping on your face and talking about your thoughts and feelings and like this like energy system. I was woo skeptical at the time. It felt like that sounds very weird. So it took me probably years. I mean, I haven't actually done the math on it, but a while to be willing to even try it. I kept getting little exposures to it. And somebody would say, you should check this out. It's interesting because Dr. Peta Stapleton, who is one of the leading global researchers for tapping, and I'm going to refer you guys to her TED Talk. If you want to know more about the science behind tapping, honestly, that's your best resource. It's succinct, it's only 16 minutes, and she tells it in such a compelling and evidence-based way, and she really knows what she's talking about. She does the research herself. So we'll share the link for you on that in the Facebook group. But Dr. Peta Stapleton, I mean, being a scientist and a researcher, she's the head of the psychology department in a university in Australia. I relate to what she said. Like, she just felt like, oh, that sounds really weird. And then eventually I heard more and more about it. So it starts to draw you in. And maybe some of you are like that. You've heard about this. Maybe this is your first time, but maybe you've heard about this a few times and you're like, I'm finally going to check this out. Or maybe you've even tried it a few times and you're like, I'm not really sure. It's repeated exposure sometimes is what we need, right? To feel safe. So I actually met Jackie at the event I first tried tapping at, and I have a whole story about that. I call it rage tapping in a bathroom stall because similar to what Jackie's offering you here, there was a little bit of exposure to learn to tap. And so I had enough of what she just gave you. I had enough of an understanding to know the very basics, meaning I knew there were some points on my body. I knew that it would help to turn down a stress response. And something happened at the event that I got extremely upset about. Like, have you ever had an emotional overreaction? So you know that how you're reacting is not matching the situation, and you feel like out of control of yourself, like almost out of your body. So I went into the bathroom at that event and locked myself in the bathroom stall. And I probably only tapped for maximum 3 minutes. Because again, think about this. I'm like in the bathroom stall at this event. Like, there's no way that this was longer than 3 minutes, because I was very aware that I sounded like I was fumbling around in there. And I tapped on myself to the best of my ability at the time, which is basically almost a zero, right? Like, I didn't know what I was doing, like many of you probably feel right now. And it still worked. It brought me from a 10 to literally a 0. Now, I tell that story because, just like Jackie, some of your stories are very compelling. Like, it's just like, oh my gosh, there's something like that out there that works like that. And it does. But as you already said, Jackie, not always for everyone, for all things. So like when I work with clients, it's not like every single session is this like 10 out of 10 transformative experience, but sometimes it is, and it's always beneficial. So if it's only from a 10 to an 8, I'm like, can that be sufficient for today, right? So that was my introduction to tapping. It completely blew my mind. I was like, what just happened to me? and it lasted. That thing that triggered me, because it was a trigger, it's never bothered me since. Like and Jackie, you told the story, an example of tapping on like wine, for example, and being like, I don't even want it. Like, it smells terrible. Sometimes that does happen. Other times we feel just more neutral. Like this thing that I was processing, it just felt very like, I felt like I had emotional adulthood about it instead of being like in my emotional toddlerhood, if that makes sense. So that's what powerfully happened for me with that first experience. And that's primarily what my work as a practitioner centers around, is helping with emotional agility, which is really learning to listen to our emotions, which we often can't do when our nervous system is dysregulated, which for many of us it chronically is. We're in this chronic stress response. So learning how to listen to our emotions and then not being controlled by them. like deciding now what you want to do. I saw some people commenting in the group about like wanting more peace or more calm, feeling maybe more settled or grounded in your body. So our emotions are just messengers, and tapping is a really powerful tool to help us learn how to listen to them and then access our choice or our agency. So that's a little bit of my story. Is that enough to give you that?
Fantastic. And I just wanted to say our emotions are messengers.
Yeah.
That is such an important thing. And one of the things in tapping, we don't necessarily believe there's like good and bad emotions, like positive and negative. It's just information. Like right now, I remember people saying to me once, like, oh, well, tapping's really negative. It's like saying it's raining outside. Like you might not like the rain, but it's just what is in the moment. And they are giving you feedback and information. It's saying, hey, there's something for you to look at here. But the majority of us don't know how to like deal with that. Like, okay, I'm feeling this really intense anger. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Well, tapping can pull the message out. It's like, oh, I'm feeling angry, not because of the person, because of this other thing. And you're like, where did this come from? And that's the wisdom of the body with tapping, which is very cool. You'll unlock things that you didn't even know were there. And one of my favorite sayings is that the more you know yourself, the more you can love yourself. There's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. There's just this stuff going on that needed some attention. And now I have the tool to communicate with it. So great point, Jackie. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a cultural obsession with positivity, which was the other part of my resistance to tapping. Well, that wasn't my resistance to tapping, actually. That's just where I was at the time. I was very much into the whole like positive psychology thing. And there is merit to positivity. I mean, it does support our health and relationships in some ways, but our over exaggeration of those benefits and our over attachment, it doesn't allow us to be honest, which is what tapping really does. So that actually is what I fell in love with first about tapping, was the permission to just start where you are and then trust yourself to move through it, so that you're not going to stay there and you're not going to tap it in deeper by starting there. You just have to start there, and then you actually move through emotions. The word emotion is, the Latin is, I never say it right. So emovere, that probably is better. I don't know. It means to move through. So they have to move through or you'll get stuck in it, which is what many of us are, kind of stuck in a tunnel of it. So tapping will facilitate that. But I get to be here to talk to you guys a little bit about the science of tapping. Now, I promise not to completely bore you or overwhelm you with nerdy facts or figures. So Jackie, I have some notes here. I love to collect the information. We could talk about a whole bunch of things. Mostly I'm curious, is there something in particular that you would like to focus on for today? Like, what do your slides say? And let's maybe just riff off of that a little bit. Keep it fun and lighthearted. Right. So she's got the book up already, which is amazing. This is the book that if you're a reader, this will help you to go much deeper into the science behind tapping. It's written by the woman I mentioned, Peta Stapleton. It's not hard to read or understand. It's not like super dry. So you could go to that. Definitely, like I said, make sure you watch our TED Talk, which we will share the link to. Yeah. So do you want me to just start here, Jackie?
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, I'll just summarize this a little bit. So tapping actually has been around for 45, 46-ish years. As Jackie said, she gave you some of the history of the origins of this technique. But there's often a lag between understanding that something works, like we know that it does actually work. There's a lot of self-reported benefits, or we could see Mary, she's now in the pool after a 2-hour session, right? So we understand that it did actually work, but we don't understand how. And there's a lag there because that's where the research comes in. So the research supporting our understanding of how it works is more recent. It's just been within this last like 2 decades-ish, and it's picking up a lot of speed. So the 3 things that really sets tapping apart, it works really, really fast. So because it is a blend of working with the mind and the body, which again, historically, if you study the waves of psychology, where we were before we got to this new 4th wave that we're kind of just emerging into now, is the cognitive wave. So think about how obsessed we are with our thoughts, right? In the self-help world, in the coaching world, a lot of times it's very much in the therapy world, it's about cognition, your thoughts. And they are important, but they are not the most important thing. They are one pathway to change, but not the only pathway or even the best pathway to change, right? So we're not saying let's throw that out. We're saying there's more. And when you work with the body and the mind, instead of treating ourselves like disembodied heads that are just in our thoughts, that's how you get this faster response. So tapping has been studied to show that the actual physical act of tapping, that is an active ingredient in the whole process. It's not just about these psychological reversals that Jackie mentioned or the reframes that we use. This is an active ingredient. So we do both. We tap on the body and we talk about our thoughts and feelings, just to kind of sum it up in a very simple way. So an example, if you look at some of the studies, and these are replicated randomized control trial studies. So you want to look at the integrity of the study that's been done, and some studies have that and some don't. So you just have to be really careful about understanding that correlation doesn't always mean causation. Again, I'm getting kind of like scientifically nerdy with you, but it's important to just be critical in the information that you're receiving, right? So this is an example of a study that was randomized, controlled, and also replicated. So if you can do the same study twice, but with different researchers and different participants, it's widely accepted that this is likely actually what's happening, okay? So the EFT group that received tapping, that group's cortisol level actually dropped by as much as 43%. The average, I think, was 24%, but it went, some people experienced as much as 43%. Well, the psychotherapy groups, there was a group receiving psychotherapy and there was a group that was just resting. I think they were just like reading magazines, laying on couches, kind of a thing. They didn't really experience much of a significant drop in cortisol, which is one of your main stress hormones. So we need a little bit of cortisol. It's one of the things that helps us to get out of bed in the morning. A little bit is important. It also, like Jackie and I probably have a little bit of cortisol flowing right now and we're sharing for you. It turns you on a little bit, right? But too much or too much all the time is not healthy. And many of us are living in that chronic activation with too much cortisol flooding our system. So tapping is a tool that helps to turn that down really, really fast. That's just one example. An hour of tapping also regulates up to 72 genes. So it's a big, so it'll upregulate some and downregulate others. And that's just 1 hour of tapping in one session. It's really, really effective. Obviously, I mean, we've given you, Jackie's giving you personal examples. I've told you one of my own stories. I had a client tell me this year, this is a newer client, she had done some tapping with me in a group like this. It was a free offer, like just a free group. So it was global tapping, like Jackie mentioned, not something specific for her, but it was a 3-day series. So she showed up for 3 days and just did this like little 20 minutes with me. And then she had an allergy test at the hospital that week, and she wasn't allowed to take antihistamines for 5 days before the test, because obviously you don't want antihistamines messing with the test results, right? And she sent me an email. She said, I didn't react to the allergy test at the hospital, and they accused me of taking an antihistamine. But I'm pretty sure I just chilled the F out. She said, I'm definitely a highly sensitive person, but not that day. So you never know. I mean, I don't even know if she would have noticed that herself if she hadn't gone to the hospital for that allergy test. I don't know if she would have noticed that benefit or not. Sometimes we don't notice when we feel better as much as we notice when we feel worse. But you can trust the studies showing you that it's working in your unique body, in your unique way. I absolutely notice it in how I parent. I'm a more engaged, more present parent when I'm not chronically stressed. That's an example of how it shows up in my relationships. So it's very effective. One of my favorite stats is this one that you have here, Jackie. It says that after only 3 EFT sessions versus 15 CBT sessions. So CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's one of the leading, most widely accepted and widely used therapies because it works. So again, we're not saying that thoughts aren't important or that it doesn't work to work with your thoughts, but it takes longer, as you can see there. So it's a ratio of, what is that, 1 to 5? My daughter is learning proportional relationships right now in school, 1 to 5. It works 5 times faster, approximately. And that is, in our day and age, I mean, to get results faster also means you're probably saving money because you don't have to go as much if you're going to a practitioner or a therapist who does tapping. The other thing that this relates to is what she says in that third point there, that there are long-lasting benefits. So cognitive behavioral therapy, while it's awesome, you do have to continue to do your homework. Like you have to continue to practice it and in order for your results to last. And again, this is based on studies, so fMRI brain imaging. And they've done scans showing, comparing the results 1 or even 2 years after applying EFT versus CBT, and the EFT groups changes lasted much longer than the CBT groups, especially if the CBT groups, like if they weren't doing their homework still, whereas the tapping group didn't have to do anything. Again, there's so much more. I could just talk to you guys about this for like hours. I will not bore you, but read the book. If it does intrigue you like it does me, it's very interesting. And that's a good place to start to dip your toe in. And like I said, I will link the TED Talk. So that's a little summary of some of the studies that are really revolutionary. Is there anything else that you want to cover, Jack?
I was gonna add 2 comments, and I'm gonna ask you if there is any. I know last time we did this, you shared a few stories from Peter Stapleton about. I think it was like, I don't know if it was the eating disorder study. Anyway, I'm gonna share it real quick. The comment on allergies. So when I did my training, there was a story shared that this woman had a really bad allergy to dairy products. And when she did some tapping on it, lots of times the tapping, the issue is linked to a core memory. So that's something you're going to discover, especially more on the advanced side of tapping, that a lot of the things we're experiencing today are connected to early memories. And she had a memory of being 7 years old. She was eating she had just got an ice cream, was eating an ice cream, and she turned around and her dog got hit by a vehicle. And it obviously was devastating and traumatic for her. But that was something I learned as well when I first started tapping, is when I got allergy testing done, I was reacting to all these things I ate all the time. I'm like, I can't be allergic to red peppers. Like I eat them all the time. But the day that I had found out about my friend passing away, I had just eaten a Greek salad, which had red peppers in it. And it's the memory of the body. They're like, if you had that in your body, every time you eat it, it's creating this memory of a stress response. And I was like, whoa. So between that, my own personal experience, and that memory of that girl where she worked on that day, her dog, unfortunately got hit by a vehicle, her allergy ended up going away. And this is where sometimes we call them one-hit wonders, where it's like, what? Like, that's crazy. And not claiming that that happens for everyone. But if there is an emotional component to your pain, to your illness, tapping is the thing that can help find that. It's the thing that can help move through it. And then the other piece I wanted to share is the comparison to like talk therapy and tapping. And I've heard people have said this to me, in talk therapy, it's so good to get it out, but I often leave kind of more energetically charged and emotionally charged than when I went in. Like, it's like I brought all this stuff up and I'm like, ooh, and I leave. And the cool thing with tapping, when you experience it, you leave. I always feel like I've had a massage, but like an emotional massage, like I'm just like zened out, and I've been able to, yes, verbally process it, but also like somatically from the body, like leave it behind. So those were 2 pieces I wanted to add from your comments here, Jackie. And then was there anything in the studies with Peter Stapleton, any specific stories that come up for you that you want to share?
One comment about the allergy thing, and you just said this, she was like, not to claim that that's going to happen for everybody. Also not to say, and I know that you mean this, but let's just make sure we're very clear, not to say that all allergies are going to be solved by tapping. Like, I still have allergies and I tap. So it's not, I always want to be really clear with my clients and my audience, like, we're not saying tapping is the cure-all to all things. It's a thing that may be helpful. And remember the wording I used earlier, like when you feel like you're up against an invisible wall. And that is where it found me. Like, I just felt like I had done so much personal work, but I was still stuck in some very distinct areas. And so that's when it's like an invitation to go maybe in a different direction, or a little deeper, or look for an emotional connection that maybe you can't solve by repeating an affirmation, or taking a supplement, right? So I really love making room for more, that we don't have to be attached like one solution, right? So other studies, let me think for a moment. I think not other studies, but one thing that I found compelling is, let me look at my notes to make sure I say this correctly, that PETA, she took tapping in earlier this year, or at the very end of 2022. She took it to the American Psychological Association, I think. I'm just looking to see where I wrote this down. Yeah, so it was in 2022, but it was just towards the end of the year, I think. So we're still waiting. I haven't heard of the final word yet that this is official, but they were asked to submit, her and her team were asked to submit a paper to the American Psychological Association to have EFT listed as an evidence-based therapy tool on their website. And that really has a huge impact on something like EFT to be widely recognized and supported, because it shows that this is a tool that's been validated by research, and it's not just one of those woo-woo things. Now, I'm not saying those woo-woo things are not, like, because tapping used to be one of them. So I'm not saying that they're not valid, but remember that sometimes there's this lag. And when we don't understand something, there's the definition of woo actually is the unconventional belief. So they're out of the mainstream, right? And at the time they have little or maybe not even yet any scientific basis. So the way I say it is I just say, like, woo is something that science hasn't caught up with yet to either prove or to disprove. And for anyone out there that, like me, is maybe a little woo skeptical, I now say I'm woo adjacent. Like, it's okay to have some mystery in life. We don't have to understand all the things. See if it works for you and how it feels for you. But I think that this move, like this invitation that they've had to submit the paper and to see tapping actually on the APA's website will help it to be so much more widely accepted. And as you said, Jackie, when you first started out, this was this weird thing that wasn't cool at all. I think of it as yoga or meditation. Like, I can remember, I'm 46. So when I was young, yoga was woo. Meditation was woo. Like, those were only those like crunchy granola people that did that kind of stuff out here in British Columbia. I grew up in Saskatchewan, so we didn't do that there. I'm really excited because it will make it so much more accessible to people. And it is, like I said, it's not the be all and end all, but it is such an effective tool that people literally just don't know yet is available to them. So I'm really excited about that.
Amazing. Well, to end off the science of tapping piece, I will say, I say this all the time, tapping is better experienced than explained, but I really think that it's important that you understand some of the science behind it, the evidence behind it, this book, PETA Stapleton's TED Talk, because it will blow your mind, and the stories that she has, and that she's worked a lot with eating disorders. And there's tapping studies on all sorts of different areas too, right? Like the tapping solution with veterans and PTSD. I have some practitioners, I actually might bring them in over the next few days, that work specifically around trauma and the results that they're seeing. And these are trained therapists, right, that have all sorts of modalities, but they're choosing tapping as one of their top because it's so effective and so fast. So tomorrow we're going to experience it together. You're going to want to make sure that you're there. In this, I explain the nervous system. We go into more detail. I would recommend reading through this. I just want to be conscious of everyone's time today. So you are going to get a copy of this. I also chat a little bit about the body, which we're going to focus on specifically tomorrow. So if you have, feel like, I think I might have some stuck emotions in my body, and how tapping with the body works, we're going to dive into that and experience it tomorrow. But for today, as we end off, I want to be conscious of your time. What was your number one takeaway from today? Was there any piece of today that really stood out to you, whether it was a story, whether it was a piece of the science, whether it was, I didn't know you could tap on this thing? What was your number one takeaway? Feel free to share. We are going to do a draw for a tapping bundle today. So the more you're engaged, the more likely you are to win. And I would love for you to share what you're excited to try tapping on. I'm seeing some of these comments already: weight loss, abundance, success, releasing limiting beliefs, cravings for sure, tapping with your kids. Yeah, keep them coming. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably see I have some tapping scripts on there, but the top ones that come up in this training, I'm going to add some more over the next few days. The breakdown for each round, Bonnie. Yeah, there is a specific sequencing for each round. So we're going to dive into that tomorrow, tapping through trauma. And then make sure you check your email tonight, because there's going to be an intro to tapping guide with a do-it-yourself script. So you can be like, I want to try tapping on this, pain in my neck. And you can fill in the blank, try tapping on that pain. Or you're like, I want to try tapping on this stress I have around money. You can use that script to fill in the blank and your stress around money. If you need any support at all during the next 4 days, if you can't find something, if you don't have the replay, if you heard me refer to something and you don't know where it is, you can email support@jackiemcdonald.ca. That's important, .ca, not .com. And my team there is happy to help you. We are here for you. So if anything comes up over the next few days, feel free to ask. And I'm seeing these comments, distraction and grief. Yeah, if you have a hard time focusing, or if procrastination is something you struggle with, that is one of the top things I tap on. Business success, yes. Self-love. I mean, our basis of tapping is I love and accept myself anyway. And if you're saying that for the first time, it can bring up a lot of emotion as well. Rebecca, you're amazed at how trauma can trap emotions and associate them with food, for example. Yeah, you may have been eating at the time of the trauma. Yeah, it was actually fascinating. And after I cleared it, I got retested and it cleared. But it was amazing to me that I was like, what? How can I be allergic to this thing that I eat all the time? Okay, so I'm going to check with my team. They're going to pick one winner for today. And it's prize time. The abundance tapping bundle. You'll see on my website, there's different types of tapping bundles. We're going to give one away a day. So Tamber, if you can comment in the chat, who is the winner from today? We will celebrate you. And then make sure if you got a piece of information out of this that you think others may need, bring them to the group. You can simply invite them in Facebook, or if you're on my Instagram, you can share my Instagram posts and tag the people that are needed, that you might think, oh, I know someone that struggles with anxiety or pain, or is going through a breakup right now, or is going through some money stuff. Please invite them, because this is how it spreads. So thank you guys for coming today. Yeah, blown away by the science and no idea how effective it is. Awesome. Jackie, anything else before we sign off?
No, I think you nailed it. So looking forward to the next 3 days. It's going to be some good stuff.
Yeah, we're going to dive deep in tomorrow. So make sure you're here, set your calendar for 10 a.m. And Jackie, where can people find you online?
Not on social media. You'll find me there, but I'm not nearly as regular as you are. My email list, I'm very regular, and I get lots of great comments, feedback from the emails I write. So if you're curious about that, the best way to get on there is grab my free session. It's called Start Your Day Calm, Clear, and Grounded. And we mentioned cortisol. So remember, you need a little bit of cortisol to start your day, but most of us are starting it and it's flooding our systems, which is why I created that free session. So that's at experience.jackieacree.com. We can pop the link in the chat for you. But that'll get you the free session. If you don't like my emails, unsubscribe. There will be no hard feelings. I'll just tap through them. It'll be no big deal. And I'm doing a free class next week called Gaslit by Self-Help. So if you are curious about that, we can post the link for the sign up for that one as well, for sure.
Amazing. So we'll post that. You guys can go follow Jackie on her email list. She does give great emails. And Raina Lee is the winner today of the Abundance.
Congratulations.
Yay! Congratulations, Raina. And tomorrow we will draw again for anyone on here live. All right, everyone, have an awesome day. We'll see you back here tomorrow for day 2, where we're going to tap together in person.